Okay, well, good afternoon, folks, again. Um, we're going to run through a number of quick updates, and obviously we'll entertain as many questions as we can. We've got a number of our cabinet colleagues with us because a good president knows when to bring their experts, and so I have a team of experts riding along, and at times going to take the lead during this afternoon's briefing. But thank you all for taking time out. I know it's a busy and hectic time of year. It's an exciting time of year because we always get a little anxious and a little bit excited when the new academic year and the new school year starts. Coming back to campus and working in these COVID adjusted times brings additional feelings. And I appreciate the work that everybody has done on and off campus to prepare for the fall semester and to get us ready to engage our students in any number of modalities, both in the classroom and beyond the classroom. As we look to the commencement of the academic year, I want to reinforce a couple of key messages. One is I encourage all of our faculty, staff, and students to load their information up into the Cuny First system. It's a pathway for those of us who have been vaccinated to get the clearance to get to campus. It is the pathway for those who are not fully vaccinated or who are not yet vaccinated and who need to schedule tests to get access to our testing site and schedule appointments. It is not the only way. I believe if I remember Jermaine right correctly, there can be ways for students to get through as well through the Care Force system. But we really are encouraging everybody to set up and make accurate your Cuny First profile and your status. At the same time, people have been working on campus since the 16th, as the Chancellor's missive from several weeks ago pointed us towards, and happy to report that accessing the campus through our limited gates and working with our colleagues in safety and security has been relatively smooth. And certainly this was going to be a test for everybody. But so far the reports have gone pretty well. And we're confident that things will get smoother. I will encourage you, those of you who need tests, to be proactive because that can be a little bit more bumpy. You need to schedule an appointment. They are taking in drop-ins, but that is somewhat more of an iffy proposition. And so I think you need to be planful about when and where you can access those testing sites. And remember, those testing sites can be accessed on any number of Cuny campuses. You do not need to simply go to the Lehman campus. However, that reinforces really the need to have that Cuny First profile because that will travel with you. So please be mindful about when you look to schedule your COVID test. And for those of you who think and need to come to campus Monday morning, please be mindful that if you take a COVID test on Friday, there's a very strong, if not a full, total chance that those results will not be available in time and you will not be approved by Monday morning. So better that you look no later than Thursday to take that particular test. In terms of where we're at with campus, I'm going to turn it over to some of our colleagues, and I'll just simply say, as somebody who's been at Lehman for basically 50 days, a lot has been done on campus, and our colleagues, I've said it before, who have worked in areas like safety and risk management, and certainly in facilities, have done yeoman work over the last, well, you can't even say few months. They've been at it since the beginning of COVID, and they have been working very hard to make sure the campus is safe for them and it's safe for us as we come back. Rather than imperfectly recite a compendium of what has been done, I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Rotolo and then Vice President Bergmann to talk about the things that have been done to both prepare the campus safely for return, but also to prepare us to deliver our primary directive, which is teaching and learning to our undergraduate and graduate students. So Rene, I'm going to turn it to you first.
Thank you. President Delgado. Good afternoon, Lehman College. I hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to follow up on something the president said about access. It is going smoothly. The few bumps we've had or the few issues we've had, we've very easily resolved. IT's been able to address them. But I need to reiterate that it's very important that you register in Cuny first under vaccination verification, either uploading your vaccination documents or just clicking the box that says I'm not vaccinated or I don't want to upload my documents. And the reason that's important for our access is because our IT department has expanded our access control system and is grabbing the data and information from Cuny first. So when you are registered, that information comes to our access control system. If you've uploaded your documents, you get a green light when you swipe and you go right in. If you've taken a test and you've gotten a negative report, you swipe your ID card, you get a green light and you go right in. It's only when your documents haven't been uploaded or when you haven't gotten your test results that you'll get a red light, and then we will not be able to give you access to the campus. So it's very important that you make sure that you've registered that information in Cuny first. So let me tell you what we've done so far and where we're at on the campus and what we'll be expecting to happen afterwards. So as we did early on, and I've been saying this since last year, you know, the engineers and high pressure plant tenders in the plant have gone to all the mechanical systems. They've cleaned the coils. They've verified that the outside dampers are open to maximum, allowing the most outside air in. They've changed the filters to the new MERV filters. They've been going through testing, and you know, we've been having walkthroughs with the PSC and other unions over these last few weeks. And in some cases, we've encountered areas where either systems were in the process of going through their routine maintenance, which involves changing belts and changing bearings. So the units weren't operational. But once that was completed and any additional repairs found that were made, those systems were put back into operation and are functioning very well. In other areas where we found problems that needed repair, those repairs have been done. And there are a few areas where there's some repairs being completed, but we're getting very close to completing all of those. So I'm very confident that everything will be running at probably better than it has in many, many years. We will be following the cleaning protocols that are outlined in our return to campus plan. And in that plan, you'll find information. And I've also included that in the memo I sent out last week about who to contact for PPE. We're fully stocked up on PPE, who to contact if there's a problem or you need something. And always feel free to email me. We're here to make sure that everybody's comfortable and has what they need. We've gone through the buildings and we've made sure all the windows were operational for people who are interested in opening their windows or prefer to open their windows. What we had done, and we've been doing this for the last few months, but we found that the grease we were using to grease the balances for smooth operation was actually drying out, so that the windows were not operating as smoothly as we wanted them to. So we actually found another product that we went back and we greased all the windows, and we've done some verifications and spot checking, and it's working much better, and we haven't had the same problems. So again, I want to remind you, if you encounter any problems, if there's anything you need, reach out to the people and that's listed in the plan and in my memo to get what you need, or at any time, email me. I'm happy to send anything. I mean, I'll take care of it for you. Now I'm going to turn it over back to you, President Delgado.
Thank you, Rene. I'm going to swing over to you, Ron, because I know a lot of work has been going on with the IT staff in terms of prepping for classes and remote instruction at the same time.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Delgado, and good afternoon, everybody. I have been on campus. I've been very excited to be on campus. It's so wonderful to see people in person and to greet the people who have been the essential workers who have been really an important part of the life of Lehman, and their dedication and commitment to the service of the work of Lehman. The mission of Lehman has been quite extraordinary, so I applaud them. I just want to reinforce a couple of things that Rene just said about campus entry. One is during the first couple of days of the semester, it would be great if everybody could come in a few minutes early so that there's not a queue and that you're not late for appointments or a class. The second thing I just want to mention is that what we need to have is a situation where everybody brings in their ID, because the way you get on campus is to swipe. So either your physical ID or your Lehman 360 ID, which is essentially like a boarding pass, can be read by an optical reader at the gates by public safety. So please bring that with you. I want to talk a little bit about what you're going to encounter when you come on the campus, especially if you're students and also for faculty members. With regard to high flex, as you know, we've going through lots of different modalities over the course of the last year, which poses some challenges for us, but we have faculty that have really been quite innovative. We have more than 22 faculty that have volunteered to teach high flex courses. And as you know, high flex courses are those where people can be either their students in person or remotely. And part of that is to deal with the density issue, but it also poses some unique challenges. And one is that it requires some new technology. So we want the technology to be seamless. We want this to be well coordinated. And what we've done is to create a phase one approach where during the course of the fall, we'll have about 40 classrooms that will be using devices called Logitech Meetups. And those are all-in-one boxes that have a microphone and speakers as well as a camera. And that will be used so that faculty members will be able to speak to people both in class and remotely. We'll have an extra screen that's in the classroom so people in the class can see their colleagues remotely, and we'll be able to communicate that way. The issue, of course, with this is to make sure that the video and audio works and that it works in a seamless way. So during the fall semester, we have asked students to join us as part of our HighFlex tech team and be helpful to the faculty in the classroom, to help with the startup, to help with the technology, and to help with shutting that down. And so we've gotten a very strong response from students who will be paid to assist with this. They'll be able to assist faculty, for example, with the chat and other things to make this as a friction-free process as possible. But it's really not the end of the story. In June, the Board of Trustees approved for us a pretty extraordinary change that will be transformative, I think, in terms of our classrooms. They approved the ability for Lehman to have new technology in 172 classrooms and 4 lecture halls. That technology will enable us to have better projectors, to be able to have better audio and video. And so it can be used in any way that a faculty member needs. It could be, for example, that they continue high flex, and the 20 faculty members will essentially be peer mentors for others who decide that high flex works for them. It can be used to bring in a speaker from another college or university into the classroom. So it has a lot of uses, and it could be as flexible as the faculty member wants it to be in terms of the way they teach. So we're very pleased to introduce that, and it's a change that only happens once in a while to be able to do that kind of technology. In other areas, if I may, President, I just want to say a few things that we will have in place. We're going to be working in a reduced capacity to allow for social distancing in the IT center, which will have a capacity of about 4950 students. And also in the Carmen cafeteria area, we're going to be setting up a place for students there where they can come in between in-person classes. They may have an online class in the afternoon after a morning class where they are in person. So we'll be able to, if they want to bring laptops, they can. If they want to borrow a laptop from us, they can. And this will also provide earbuds for students if they need them to be able to participate in a class. So we'll have 25 places there. And for all of these things, we'll be able to expand. Along with the library, we're going to use a new system called LibCal, which is a scheduling system. So a student can reserve a spot in the IT center, the library, or in this new study space so that they can reserve a space and have it scheduled in advance so that we know that they're coming. So we hope that that will work well, and there'll be more information on the IT website. I also want to reiterate the student loaner program. We have loaned more than 2,000 devices to students, and we primarily have Chromebooks and iPads, and we want students to be able to complete their studies. That program still exists. If you go to the IT resources on the really excellent website for Cuny, for Lehman COVID resources, you'll find a form to fill out there, and that's the way to borrow for the semester a device. I know there'll be more questions on technology and on campus entry, but I'll stop there, Mr. President, and we can resume later with other questions.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. So as you can see, much work has been going on, and we've done our best to continue to do our best to prepare for multiple eventualities, pivoting in different kinds of directions as we need to, but really anticipating that we'd be transitioning back to a normal teaching and learning and work environment. I want to reiterate, we reopened the campus on the 16th as per the Chancellor's directive. I'm reminded by my colleague in HR that people should have already had the remote work agreements in place. And all we asked in the email that we sent last week essentially is to be thoughtful in the next week or two as we were trotting out these new systems and transitioning to the fall semester, to think about how and when people came to campus and to consider de-densifying their coming to campus. It was not meant to presume that we were going to be shut for the next 2 weeks. No, in fact, we're open. It's merely that as we were approaching this week, we weren't entirely sure how smoothly things would go. And as we're happy to note, things are going pretty well. And we're getting better as we learn these systems and people learn the routines to access campus. I'd also like to reinforce that as people get these tests and you have negative tests, they may take more than 24 hours to get there. You now know how, once you get a negative result, how that will show up and how you use that to access campus. But again, for those people who have a positive result, you know the protocols in terms of staying home and staying away and creating a place of quarantine so that we can navigate your health, but at the same time keep the community as healthful as we possibly can. So I encourage everybody to be diligent about that and to be careful about when you're on campus. A number of us on the cabinet have joked that when we come on campus, we are used to greeting each other in various ways, and they tend to violate 6 and 3 foot distancing, and we have to remind ourselves not to do that, and we have to remind ourselves to not necessarily congregate. And to the students who may be on the call, as you're moving through and between hallways and classes, please don't loiter. Move to your next class. Those hallways and stairwells can be dense with people if people loiter. And please, as you see the signs that say this stairwell up and this stairwell down, please follow those signs. Those signs are there to help with the flow of traffic and to help mitigate risk as people move through our interior spaces. Rene, I had one thing that wasn't on my list, but we've talked about it before, and I guess it's worth another update, and that is where we at with provisioning dining options.
Food service. So the cafeteria will not be open. We actually met today with a vendor who provides a grab and go service. They're currently located at Hunter College, and Cuny has worked with them to allow us to piggyback onto Hunter's agreement. We met with them today. The one thing preventing them from actually being open, possibly, we don't know yet, on the first day of class, is that they must get their New York City Department of Health inspection in advance. And we are sending them the agreement today. to use to spark the inspection. We just don't know what the inspection time from New York City will be. But we will be having a grab and go service in the Harmony Cafe in the music building to begin with. There's coffee, there'll be pastries, sandwiches, wraps, empanadas, smoothies, and we're working on some other potential options we can supplement that with as well. But we're still waiting to get some information on what those possible other options may be from Central.
Thank you, Renee. And just so that we can perform this in front of our audience, we are also subject to the mayor's directives, the City of New York directives around gym spaces, dining spaces, and performance spaces, correct?
Yes, correct. That's correct. So people in performing spaces attendees must be vaccinated and must present proof of vaccination. We're not sure we have to conform to the dining because we're not a restaurant. So Cuny is verifying that, and we're waiting for verification on what that is. But we're recommending that people do not eat indoors, but eat outdoors whenever possible. And we're trying to get some tents on campus so that we have an option for when there's some inclement weather, which is outdoors, but covered and protected. And gyms, yes.
And so for those people accessing Apex as they come in, they will also have to provide proof of vaccination.
Correct.
Thank you. I've got some other things I can skip to, but before I do, we have our colleagues from Student Affairs and Academic Affairs here as well. And I'm going to start with Student Affairs and end with teaching, because as a former faculty member, I know everything begins and ends with teaching and instruction. So we could put our provost wherever, but I'm going to jump first to Jermaine in case Jermaine has any updates on the student affairs side, particularly in terms of how we're providing services.
Well, thank you, President Delgado. First and foremost, I want to say hello to everyone virtually and welcome everyone back to another exciting academic year. I want to applaud our students first and foremost. As we know, from a instructional standpoint, and instructions meaning instructions on how to upload information, our students have been doing a great job. We have loads of students who have been uploading their vaccination information, and we've been doing our best via our local vaccination authorities to get things approved and get things out to students if they are not approved. With the caveat being that you have to check your Cuny first to see the comments that have been made if you've uploaded your information. In instances where we have not heard back from certain students, we will attempt to email, but the numbers are so large we cannot. So please, please, please constantly check your Cuny first if you have uploaded your vaccination information. As it pertains to the services that Student Affairs is offering, we have a robust bevy of services that we're offering in person as well as virtual. As you've heard from President Delgado, we are open. The campus is open, and we have individuals on the campus ready to serve our students, with the caveat that we maintain low density. So whenever coming to the campus, please work with those individualized offices to schedule appointments so that you can know when specifically you need to be on campus and when they can meet you. And wherever convenient and or feasible, try to do a Zoom or a call with the colleagues, with my colleagues as well, as they will be available. Case in point, I was here yesterday and we had our Veterans Affairs director here as well, working very intently with a particular student here on campus, as well as our Disability Services Office, who we have a student who she was working with today as well. So I'm beginning to see the life come back into the campus, that pulse, that beating heart that we're so used to seeing, that opening of the academic year, while the numbers are low, that spirit of engagement, that spirit of that beginning of the semester and academic year is here. We are excited to welcome you back to another engaging academic year. And that's just a few of the services that we have to offer. Our counseling services will continue to be offered online, and our Urban Male Leadership Program as well. So please, if you're seeking services from our counseling department, please contact them online, by email. Their office hours are posted and they've been very responsive. We know during these difficult times, the need for our counseling services have increased, and we have been increasing the number of staff that we have to meet that need. So thank you, President Delgado, for allowing me the time to acknowledge our students on the great work that they've been doing thus far to upload their vaccination information. Continue to do so. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to my office. Thank you.
Thank you, Jermaine. Appreciate it, Vice President Wright. Provost.
I was off on mute. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, President Delgado. I did send out a memo this morning, and so that memo outlines a number of updates. Some of them you've already heard from my colleagues, and some of them we will continue to provide. But if you haven't really taken time to read that memo, I'll encourage faculty to read that. It's an important message to the campus community. It speaks about instructional modality that we've already talked about, and I have provided guidance to our deans who have done a phenomenal job with our chairs and our faculty in terms of where we are today, along with the registrar. And so we've done a phenomenal job in that regard, and I want to thank each one of you. I do get every week updates from the registrar in terms of what that modality is, and as of this past Monday, we had 56% online and 44% hybrid and in person. So we are within range of where we would like to be for the fall semester that begins next week. Enrollment is trending up, and we look at the numbers, and I want to commend enrollment management for the work they have done, again, with our chairs and our deans in terms of moving the numbers, and with the staff there. Between just Monday and today, we had an additional 600 students enroll. And so that's really tremendous progress. And we believe at the rate we're going, we will be getting closer to meeting our enrollment target for fall. So I want to thank the team there and our chairs and our deans for the adjustments they continue to make to accommodate the needs of our students. Ron, I do want to thank you on the high flex piece you mentioned. We actually tried that today in my office, in a meeting with our Provost and Dean's Council. There were 7 people in my office. We were all spaced as we sat through, and there were folks on the screen from multiple locations, including actually our friends from Bravin, which is working with us on carrier services. And they too joined us in a presentation, and it was a 2-hour meeting. And we did not have any glitches. It went really, really very well. So thank you for the support that you have provided us. It was important for us to try that out, and it will be a modality that we will utilize as necessary in our meetings. And so as we're encouraging faculty to try those, we too are trying those ourselves in terms of how the system works, and it has really worked very well. I do want to join the president and my colleagues in really encouraging faculty to take the next few days prior to the start of the academic year next week to encourage students to be ready for the semester and to be aware of the many steps they need to take to fully get vaccinated and COVID tested, and to do those things on time. There may be occasions when glitches may occur, even when you have done all that you may need to do, but be patient, things will work out. I'll tell you that I did all those things. And then of course I came to campus and I swiped my card and it said they're red. But Rene Rotolo has done a marvelous job, and she said, relax, it will be fine. And so this morning when I came in, I swiped again and it worked. But I had a backup on, remember Everbridge, once you've done that, it shows you a green check mark. And so if the card doesn't work, show this other one. But be patient, the system works, and we will correct that. This is just the world we live in, and every now and then, even when you've done the best and you've done all your part, technology has its own mind sometimes, but our team is excellent and they will work through those glitches when they occur. So we look forward to seeing you next week and excited about our return to campus in fall. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Provost. I'm going to turn this over to Don Ewing Morgan from HR in a minute. But before we do that, there are a number of questions that have stacked up, and I think some of these are going to be easy for us to answer. So I'm going to take my chance at answering them, and one of my colleagues will correct me when I'm wrong. Notice, not if I'm wrong, when I'm wrong, because inevitably I will get at least one of these wrong. Is there a separate gate or entrance for faculty and staff, or will it be the same for students? My understanding is those entrance points are for all employees and students. There is no differentiation in the gates. Can you confirm that faculty and staff parking will be free and available for the fall semester? My understanding is that it indeed will be free. I will defer to Rene in terms of its availability.
It will be available in the faculty parking lot, the south lot for the fall semester. Please be sure to email Fausto Ramirez to let him know you will be parking so he can validate your access card.
Okay, thank you, Rene. This one goes probably to contact tracing, but will we be informed if there are non-vaccinated individuals in our classroom? First question, will we be informed if someone in our classroom tests positive for COVID? Before we answer that, let me just say we are not in the business of asking people individually, whether they're colleagues or students, what their vaccination status is. That will put us in a not good position legally. But in terms of knowing if people are vaccinated, I think not. People have a right to access campus either by proving their vaccination or by a negative test. And those are the two ways. And that's how we signal whether or not somebody is approved or greenlit to come through. Now, I'm going to defer here on the details, whether or not if somebody is out because of COVID. My first inclination is no, we're not going to tell people what other people's health status is. But if there is a need for contact tracing in a classroom, that will occur. My colleagues are nodding, but I'm inviting any one of them to step in and parse that.
Yeah, we have a very robust process for this that we actually put in place last March before we left, and we will follow the same process. You know, students obviously are reported to student affairs, who then does a process of contact tracing everybody in a classroom and letting them know. Employees report to HR, and then HR will do that same contact tracing to see who may have been in contact with that person. And yes, people are notified then when they've been.
Thank you, Rene. Ron, here's going to be a question I think I'm going to pitch to you. So the question is, I'm a freshman and was told I could test today without an appointment. I went, was turned away by the testing site at Lehman. I have not received an email, nor do I have a link to click on my Cuny First homepage, so I can't schedule an appointment for testing. When will I receive the link in my Cuny First or by email so I can test? Thanks.
I think that there's a couple things that need to be traced back. Has the student entered any information to the Cuny First vaccination site? And by the way, students, faculty, and staff should be able to see if they are approved for entry back at that same site. It's at the top of that site generally. But I think for that particular student, it would probably be good to get in touch with VP Wright's office so that they could work with that student to find out what the issues are and to correct that.
Thank you, Ron.
I would also add, if you'll allow me, President Delgado.
Absolutely.
So as it stands now, CUNY Central is sending out batches of information regarding how to test. So that is an ongoing process because there are a lot of students within the CUNY system. Lehman was in the first round of notification that has happened, but it's still taking us some time. It began yesterday at about 2:15, and it should conclude today sometime this evening. So if that student has not received anything by tomorrow, please contact my office and we will have one of the local vaccination authority Lehman staff folks help you out with that process.
And I'm going to apologize because I was probably the one who told you to go to the site because they've been taking walk-ins. We haven't been advised that they are no longer taking walk-ins. But the problem may have been that either you did not have your employee ample ID or you did not have your Lehman ID. And at that point, they may not have been able to link your test with you, which would have been why they would have turned you away.
Thank you, Rene. The quick one, I can even answer this one. I have to be testing in my job every week. Will those results work for Lehman or do I also have to have test places chosen by Cuny? The policy that was rolled out from the Chancellor's office is that Cuny is contracted with a particular provider in all of our institutions, and you have to use that provider in order to get access to one of the Cuny campuses or facilities. So I might encourage you to go talk to your employer and do the reverse to see if you can use the Cuny test to stand in for what you have to do at work. And then, Don, I'm going to punt this one to you. For those of us who will continue to work remotely only, will our paycheck still be mailed to us?
Yes, that's correct. You will get your pay deposited if you have direct deposit, and you'll get the statement in the mail, which brings up an interesting point. If you don't have direct deposit, please contact Human Resources to get that set up. What this COVID period has shown us is the importance of being able to do things electronically to keep things going. We believe you work, you should get paid. So make sure you have that direct deposit form in, updated if necessary. But yes, if you're working remotely, you'll still get your pay deposited and your stuff by mail.
Okay, thank you, Don. There's a couple of more complex questions. We're gonna knock off an easy one, and then we get to the sort of more multi-part ones. So, how may I get my physical ID card? That's not my question. I mean, I have that question, but that's somebody else's question.
So you can send it digitally to public safety. If you go to the public safety's website, their specific site, it gives you instructions on how to do that. And if you email public.safety and let them know you want a physical ID card, they will print that out for you and they will have it sitting at gate 5 for you to pick up when you arrive at the campus. I think I'll send out another email with that information for everyone.
Especially
Rene,
for
I
new
also
students.
included it in my email out to students as well.
Oh,
But
you
I do
did?
think
Okay.
more is better. What we're learning is that it's better to over communicate and get the message out. So,
Right.
I just want to add that for new students, especially for new faculty and staff members, there's a way to upload your photograph, and then the ID will be waiting for you, as Rene said, when you come to campus.
Perfect. A question from Pam that is echoed by Penny Prince. So Pam Hinden, student was recently told by public safety she could come to campus no more than 15 minutes before her on-campus class. Since the student has an online class first, followed by an in-person class, we were told that the designated spaces would be available for students in this situation. Will public safety then allow students on campus in time to take online classes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just want to limit the amount of time students are spending waiting in the hallway, waiting in the building, but if they're coming on to go to a specific location to take their online class, that's fine.
Okay. And then Peter, this one may swing over to you. It's from Susan Markins. In the email you sent today, it states, we recommend that the shared office spaces be utilized only by the faculty who will be teaching via in-person or hybrid modality. In the event that a faculty teaching fully online plans to access a shared space, we ask that the faculty contact facilities. So the question is, does this mean that the faculty not teaching in person need permission to come to campus to go to their office? I thought this was stopping. Also, it seems more efficient for faculty share office just to touch base and coordinate with each other to make sure no more than one person is there at the same time. And I would say, obviously, if both faculty members are on campus teaching, that's exactly what they have to do, is coordinate so that they have distance. But Peter, if you want to parse that in any way, feel free.
I think you've answered the question, and Rene can add to that as well. Yes.
Yeah, I would suggest coordinating with your department chair to not share an office, but maybe use a different office if you're both on the same day at the same time. If you're not on at the same time, then it's not a problem to use the same office. Also, we've set it up so that faculty and staff have full access. We don't want to limit access for faculty and staff. If you need to come on campus, if you're working remote, you need to come on campus to get supplies, you'll have access. We're in the process of setting that up for students. So there may be a few little, for staff. So there may be a few little glitches, but we're very close to getting that in place as well.
Thank you. And to Joseph's question about the students have to be fully vaccinated until 45 days after the approval of one of the vaccines by the FDA. That is our understanding. That is the first email that we have received from the central office. They'll probably, once the the FDA acts, and presuming that they grant approval, I believe it's to Pfizer that's going up first, then they will designate when that clock starts. And in the case of Pfizer Moderna, for those of us who've gotten vaccines, we know that there is a 2 to 3 week lag between the first and the second shot. And then there's also a quarantine period after the second shot to be designated fully vaccinated. And I think that's the thinking behind the 45-day stretch. And then Judith asked, will laptops be available to faculty who need one? Ron, you addressed that we're actually providing thousands of devices, but I suspect this is a particular issue.
Yes, Professor Dunker, feel free to contact me or AVP Eddie Ruiz, and we'll make sure to get you a laptop. We have provided laptop loaners to a couple of hundred faculty and staff members during the course of the COVID, so feel free to contact us.
Thank you, Ron. What will be the protocols for new students that need I'm going to assume these are mental health services, counseling and otherwise. Jermaine, I don't imagine that they're any different for any other student, correct?
Correct. That is correct. So you can access services through our counseling center. They are available virtually for telehealth meetings with students, one-on-one telehealth meetings as well. So if you contact them, they'll be able to schedule time to meet with a particular student. I'm realizing again that within the context of what we offer, there may be instances where we refer students out or recommend that students do seek other therapeutic services outside of what we can offer. But once you meet with a counselor, they'll be able to make that determination.
And then my understanding also is that we have, through our learning recovery program, social workers who are working with those first-year students as well, Jermaine, and then coordinating with Dr. Althea Ford, as well as Elin and Rene PP Sarmiento. We could actually coordinate this work and share that information to all students. But we have 2 social workers assigned to that program.
And then a gentle reminder from somebody who's helping us on this call, for students and for faculty, your Blackboard sites are also going to be a resource of information, both academic and non-academic, or what we might call both academic and student support. So don't hesitate to use those sites.
President Delgado, I just wanted to share the counseling center's email address and just let folks know that they're
Absolutely.
also available on the weekends as well. So it is counseling.center@lehman.cuny.edu, and they're open Monday to Saturday. So we wanted to provide evening hours as well as weekend hours for our students. So from Monday to Thursday, they're open 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on the weekends, Saturday in particular, they're open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So they're evening and weekend hours as well.
Thank you, Jermaine. So there were no open questions, and I know we have 15 minutes left, and certainly if a question pops up, we'll answer it. But we won't hold you here longer than we need to. I do want to provide Don Ewing Morgan some time to talk about the number of folks who have already completed verification forms, and then provide a gentle reminder to everybody about certain emails that have come out and will likely come out. So Don, I'm going to swing it over to you if that's okay.
Great, sure. Thank you, President Delgado. I'm pleased to report that over 800 Lehman employees have uploaded information to the Cuny First vaccination verification site. We find out as we're getting closer and closer to the return to campus that the numbers are increasing each day. So if you want to upload information, I encourage you to go to the site. It's on the Cuny First menus, the vaccination verification site, upload your information. You can do a couple of things. One, you can say you don't want to disclose your status. That's okay. It means that you will be entered into the testing pool, the mandatory testing pool. Or you can upload your CDC card or the new Excelsior Plus card. If you do that, then you will not be in the testing pool. Or if someone has a 100% remote work agreement for the fall semester, for example, a faculty member who is 100% remote, not teaching any classes on campus, or a staff person who may have a 100% remote work agreement because they have a medical or disability reason or something like that. You upload that, it's reviewed by Lehman's Human Resources Office. And if it's approved, then you are exempt from the weekly mandatory testing. You can always find out your status by going back to the same CUNY First site. And on top, it will probably say something like, your documents have been uploaded successfully. The middle of the page, once everything's approved, you will see that it says approved. You can then access your VaxPass through the Everbridge app, which is no longer a daily screening app, but it's a VaxPass. But more importantly, that information will ultimately be linked to your Lehman ID, because that's what you need to bring with you every time you come to campus. That is what will be swiped. And public safety will look for that green token that says you have access to campus. Really important, as was mentioned earlier in this session, that although we initially thought that test results would be back in 24 hours for those who tested Monday through Thursday, 48 hours for those who tested Friday, we're now finding out it may be taking just a little bit longer than expected. So I encourage you, I urge you, if you're due back on campus next week, you probably should consider getting tested today, tomorrow, Friday by the latest, so you have clearance to come through the entry points on Monday. We're hoping that as we move further along in this process, that we'll get back to what the commitment was, which is 24 hours. There is no fee for testing, so you don't have to pay, but you should take with you your employee ID number, because once you've been registered through the Cleared For online process, when you get to the testing site, that's what they're going to ask you for, your employee ID number, because that's what links the information to everything. I understand that it's a very quick process, that probably once you've registered, you're inside. Maybe you're there 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most. It's a self-administered nasal swab test. And you're given the supplies, you administer it, you put the packet into the drop box there, and you're done. So they've been trying to make it as simple as possible. So once again, thanks to all of you who have gone to the verification site and uploaded information. If you are having difficulty, please, please, please get in touch with Human Resources, and they will walk you through it step by step. We've been making ourselves available to work with some employees over in the IT center who have been having difficulty, and they've been getting it up. A couple of other notes. As I mentioned earlier, if you haven't signed up for direct deposit, please do so. You can contact Human Resources. You can get the form. It usually, once you return the completed form and the voided check, it takes about 2 pay periods for it to be activated. But your money will be in your account on payday. There's no delay. You get your stubs, so you still have a record of all your deductions. We're also encouraging everybody at the beginning of this semester to go into the self-service part of CUNY First and verify all of your information. A lot could have happened this past year, so please make sure your cell number, your residential address, all your contact information is current, your emergency contact person, and we'll probably be sending notices out maybe every semester or at least once a year, reminding you to do that. That's about all that I'd like to share at this point. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Don. And then just to wrap up, just a quick reminder, everybody's getting a lot of emails from us, and we as a leadership team have tried to segment who speaks to whom so that we reduce the amount of redundancy and can increase the consistency, the clarity, and frankly, the quickness with which we can get you information. Although there's a fine line, because if we're too quick, things may change on us and we may have to send you a follow-up email. However, as we navigate these reopenings across the system and simultaneously navigate the ecosystem of COVID that surrounds and envelops our campuses, you're likely to see more and more email coming from the central office. And sometimes, maybe not in this system, but in other systems that I've worked at, there's a tendency to be dismissive or to say, well, you know, people on campus are going to speak and I don't have to open up this email. But in point of fact, some of the important emails that are coming out of the Chancellor's office are meant to speak on behalf of all of us. And we may follow up, but we follow up to either echo or operationalize, if necessary, what the Chancellor has been saying. So I encourage you, if you see email from the Chancellor regarding COVID or reopening or urgent notice, don't ignore those emails. Those emails are policy setting emails. They frame what and how we do our work on our campuses. And so whether you're faculty, staff, or a student, please pay attention to those emails. Because generally as a president, I get a 12 to 24 hour heads up that they're coming out. And they are meant to speak on behalf of all the constituent members of the City University of New York. And so please, I beseech you to pay attention. If you have questions, then absolutely follow up with us. We may beat you to that punch and follow up on behalf of Lehman, megaphoning what the Chancellor has said, but please don't disregard those emails. They are important emails, and they set the course and direction for what we do in many important ways. Given that it's 4:53, we seem to have exhausted the topics that were on our list. We seem to have addressed the questions. I'm thankful to the team that assembled today. Very much appreciative for the clarity and the accuracy and all the corrections that you provide me. More importantly, I thank you and the people that you represent in each of these important divisions, as well as the folks that represent the other divisions. Because this is how we get to normal, right? And I'm not naive enough to say that normal begins next week. Next week is the beginning of the path back to normalcy, and it may take a day, it may take a month, it may take longer than that, but we're starting in that direction as a learning institution. And so every step may not be linear. And every step may not be, one foot in front of the other, as that old song was. Sometimes we'll have to step sideways, but with the momentum and the energy of folks who want us to get back to as much of a semblance of normalcy as we can, without making missteps that put people in danger. So I appreciate everybody's work. Thank you for your time. For those of you who are instructors, rest up. Next week it starts. And for those of you who are staff, many of you have not been resting. You've had a summer of a lot of activity. And so if you have the opportunity to take this weekend to exhale and breathe a little bit and rest up as the next week begins, please do so. I appreciate everything and all the hard work that everybody at Lehman has done. And to the students, when you buy your books, please do me a favor. Take the cellophane off them, open them up, read them. And when your faculty member tells you to prepare for class beforehand, do your best to do so. It does make teaching and learning so much more fun and enjoyable. But we know you also have busy lives, but where you can, as you can, how you can, if the faculty member asks you to be prepared for class, do your best to do so. It certainly will make the classroom experience or the lecture or even the lab that much richer. So you're here to learn. Help us help you learn. And have a good evening, everybody. Be safe out there.